Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Sutherland Area Committee. First of all, do you have any apologies for absence?
There's no apologies.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Declarations of interest, members? Nope, that's fine. Hugh, for your benefit, we have. Can I ask everybody put their machines on mute in the meantime, because we're getting some feedback here, and then we'll adjust it as we go forward. Hugh, for your benefit, everybody that is on screen here, so there's nobody else in the room apart from what you can see, apart from David Bell from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, who's sitting beside me at the moment, and he'll see his lovely picture in a minute when I'm going to pass my laptop over to him when he's going to do his presentation for the Fire and Rescue Service. Okay.
Thanks.
Right. Okay. Moving on. Right, so that brings us nicely to item 3 on the agenda, which is the Scottish Fire and Rescue Local Performance Report. And as I said, we've got David Bell with us. David Bell with us. Hello. You need to put your mic. Okay. Nope. It's
Okay. Put yours off, Richard, and see if it'll help.
we need my one for doing the presentation of.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Hello. Oh, still there. There. Yes. Okay.
That's
right.
the microphone then.
Speaker.
Speaker.
Yeah.
I wanted to say microphone.
Okay, sorry, I'll start again. We have David Bell from Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, who's going to give us the local performance report, and I'll slide my laptop over to him so you'll be able to see him. But and this, there it is.
It's fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Richard. Good morning, everybody. So the performance report and covering report from myself for Sutherland area from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service has been out for comment and to be scrutinised by the committee. I'm quite happy either to take questions or to run through the report. Richard, how would you like to?
Can you just give a summary, David, and we can look in a question too. So
the report covers Q1 and Q2 April to the end of September 24. So through this period, figures: accidental dwelling fires, 0 fatalities, 1 fire casualty, which in any situation like that we have considered the post-domestic incident response, which is where we are engaging with the occupiers of properties, and there's a big drive within the area to improve that. So that is the time where we will engage with the occupiers and also the other agencies involved in individuals. So in this situation where we had the casualty, there was a big community engagement from that. Deliberate fires, primary fires and secondary fires below average for this period, which is good. Again, it indicates the hard work that our crews and our partners are putting into this. Road traffic accidents, 0 fatalities for this period, 6 injuries, RTC related injuries from the report. Again, as we're all aware, the large increase in movement of traffic in our area, North Coast 500 is, and probably just the period through the summer months is that increase where the injuries are coming from. Again, engaging with our partners and also the engagement with the schools to promote and encourage safer driving. So there's a big drive that through our community safety advocate within the area or areas, and they're engaging with all the schools within Sutherland and delivering these road safety talks. So that is ongoing and continues, not just for this reporting period, but throughout the year through that engagement. Unwanted fire alarm signals, UFAS, continued decrease in the number of these types of incidents that we are attending through the change within the policy and procedures within the service, calls being challenged at source through our control room and determining the attendance from that. So there's a consistent decline in the number of these incidents, and that will continue. That policy is set in place now and will continue. Home fire safety, community safety aspect of things, as I said, we continue to engage with the schools and community groups, post-domestic incident response at all domestic incidents, and that is not just fire-related incidents, it's any domestic type incident. We will engage, as I say, with the house or homeowner, but also properties within that area as well, and that's determined normally by the type of incident, but we will engage. Home fire safety visits are offered, partner agency working off the back of PDIRs. As I said, that there's a big drive to improve these numbers, which is on the increase quarter by quarter at the moment, which is being reported on to the LSO. Normal thematic visits to schools, community groups, that's ongoing. Excuse me, obviously through the summer months. Caravan safety, leafleting to caravan parks throughout Sutherland. Then we've moved on through just recently into the November period, October, November, where we've engaged through bonfire talks to community groups in the schools. Okay, so that's the sort of highlights of our report. Is there any questions? I'm quite happy to take any questions, queries or concerns before I move on to the last wee part with regards to availability and recruitment.
Members, any questions? Wood? No? Okay, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So I think of 33 there, which I presume was a misprint for deliberate fires.
Just check that for you, Jim. Thank you.
Page 7, the same, so.
On the summary.
Year to date being 33.
Sorry.
All deliberate fires, 3 incidents, quarter on quarter 3. Year to date, 33 incidents, which I presume is just a sticky 3. It's just
Yes, yeah.
Year to date.
I'll confirm that with you, Jim, but that must be an error. Yeah. Sorry, I apologise for that. Okay. So, sorry, moving on to recruitment and availability. So, obviously, throughout Sutherland, throughout all our areas, there's a continuous drive to recruit personnel for our stations. It's an ongoing challenge that we have. We've obviously all the movement of personnel or members within our stations, our retirement, resignations, small numbers, but there are obviously the retirement profile within the stations. So the recruitment off the back of that is a continuous activity from us as district officers, station commanders within our areas, but also the on-call support watch commanders that we have working. So Sutherland, because I'm reporting for Sutherland, but there's 3 station commanders and there's 3 on-call support watch commanders dealing with Sutherland, just the way that our areas are split up. So there's a continuous campaign with regards to recruitment, engaging with members of the public, trying to encourage people to come through our doors. At the moment, figures for Sutherland area, we've got 15 people in various stages within the recruitment process, from the initial contact going through to our PSTs, pre-selection testing, and then moving on to our task and task management courses. So that's the numbers we have at the moment. As I said, within various stages, we've got PSTs coming up the latter part of this month, and then a task and task management course, which I'm pretty sure is March 25 will be our next task and task management course. However, we use training centres throughout the whole of the north area, which can be in Portlethen or Perth. So we are spreading that more availability for courses. I know it's not ideal that the travel distances, etc., to put people into further away training centres, but it gives a better spread of availability of number of courses for task and task management. So that's the recruitment part of it. Anybody have any questions on that?
I just got one question. Thank you for that. I thought there was a training centre in Invergordon.
Yes. So as I said, Invergordon is our local training centre, and in the first instance that would be an ideally where a local candidate would be offered to go to Invergordon. Okay. However, either capacity or date selection availability, sometimes we have candidates that can't always go to Invergordon because there may be work commitments, etc., their personal circumstances. So we can offer them to go to Perth or Portlethen in most cases. Just gives that greater spread of availability for recruits courses. We're just going through the process, or on-call, retain on-call as we call them now, is terms and conditions are just be under agreement for on-call personnel, which hopefully will be out in January 25, and that's going to give a broader spread of contractual hours, because at the moment we have 100%, which is 120 hours, and 75%, which is 90-hour availability. But they are looking, and will be in the new T's and C's, that there will be other options available for someone joining the on-call service. So that is in the process, and as I say, they're expected to be out in January 25.
So when somebody comes into the service, they have to see whether they're going to be 100% available or 75% available.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The on-call, they use a system called Garton, which is the availability system, and they have 120 hours availability, and if they are, well, so sorry, I'll start that. 168 hours is the maximum availability someone could give. They're contracted to 120 hours, so they've got that time that they can book off for work commitments, personal family life commitments. So they use the Garton system, an online system that they can book unavailable for periods of time. So if they're committing to 120 hours, that's their commitment, and that averages out over a 12-week period for their availability. But as I said, there will be other options coming through Garton for availability of hours.
So when somebody signs up for the maximum amount of hours, what benefit is it to them? Do they get an enhanced payment? Or
their retainer is more than, obviously they get a greater retainer fee for their 120 hours than someone that's doing 90 hours. Yeah.
Okay,
and as I said, that will then be worked into the change of availability hours as we go forward.
Thanks for that. Members, any questions for David? There's the hand.
Sorry. Yep. Yes, so Helmsdale, that is personally one of my stations. So my area is Dornoch to Wick, basically right up the north-east coast. So Helmsdale, we have one candidate in the process at the moment for Helmsdale, and I'm pretty sure they will be going to PSTs, the pre-selection tests. That's the next stage in their process. Success of the PSTs, they will then go on to finish off medicals and that type of the process, and then be allocated a task and task management course. So that's for Helmsdale. Yeah. No, as I said, it's an ongoing process. We or I engage with all my stations. We've put out banners, we've got leaflets, posters, all that type of thing, and that's ongoing all the time. And just the local knowledge of local crews we rely on, or I rely on as well. You know, they will know the members of their or local community, and try and just engage with them. We have, or start to have, sort of coffee mornings, open door events, cuppa with a crew type things, which we did in Dornoch earlier this year, and very keen to promote that for my stations. Other areas of Sutherland, obviously, as I said, they are under other station commanders, but they will be doing exactly the same themes as myself, and you know, just trying to promote and engage with the communities to get people through the door.
Members, can you put your microphones on when you're asking the question, please? Otherwise that won't come through on.
So
Okay.
Hugh wanted to.
No, or Hugh, well, Michael, I think Michael had his hand up first, actually, so we'll let
Sorry,
Michael come in.
Right. Right. It was thinking. Sorry. Okay. In Bonar Bridge, I think Brighton's saying that we're one man short.
Yes, crew in Bonar Bridge. So where are we? Bonar Bridge. So staffing numbers in Bonar Bridge, we're currently at 4,
Yeah.
which is rather low.
Yes.
We'll be looking certainly for a ballpark figure of 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Really. There is one person coming through the process for Bonar Bridge. I apologise, I don't know exactly what stage they are in, but we will, once we get interest from an individual coming through a process, showing that bit of interest, we take them to prep. So we'll take them to a training night and we give them lots of prep before they go to PSTs. So we constantly engage with individuals once we get that note of interest. So we have one in the process for, or showing that interest in Bonar Bridge at this stage. At the moment, yep. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that. Hugh, you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for the report. Couple of comments and a couple of questions. In my 41 years involved in the fire brigade, whether 12 as a councillor or actually employed as a brigade personnel, I don't think I've ever seen the availability as low as it is just now. It is critical point, to be fair. And I think, I mean, it just sums up probably some of the areas that I represent up here, North and West Sutherland, just how, you know, the lack of young people that we have, it's got the knock-on effect, and it's showing through the fire brigade as well. You know, doing the maths here, you get 62 personnel over 11 stations, so that's 5.6 personnel in each place. You know, as I say, I don't think I've ever seen it as low. But I mean, you know, everybody's, well, in most villages, they're always looking for people to come into the fire brigade and keep it going forward. And I just wondered, you know, the female side of it as well, we're really struggling on that side. I wonder what we can do to encourage more females into it. And how many, so one of my questions is how many of the 15 are females going forward? And also, my next question is that if personnel are asked to go to other stations to back them up and make up their numbers, do they get paid mileage to go to that station, or do they have to find their own way there and then get paid from the hours that they do on station? It's a kind of technical question for you, but it's one I keep getting asked.
No.
And I think I'll go with that just now. And as I say, thanks for your report.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. Nice to speak to you again. Yeah, I'll apologise now. I don't know the percentage or number of females within that, but I will take note of that, and I'll drop you a wee message on that after the meeting, Hugh, just to confirm that. Again, across communities, we welcome male, female coming through our doors as part of the recruitment process. There's a lot of work in the background within the service of encouraging women within the fire service. There's a lot more involvement with that. And just before I left the office this morning, there's women in the fire service looking at having some sessions within Inverness, and obviously that throughout our areas. My on-call support watch commander, Cara Simpson, does a fantastic job and engaging with communities and engaging with the stations. So we're always very keen to encourage females to come in, and but again, it's knowing local areas and engaging with the stations as to how we can tailor it to an individual area you know, and our own crews at the moment as to who they know in their areas, and just getting that word of mouth, which we rely on quite a lot, you know, that local knowledge for that, Hugh. Sorry, the latter part of your question there, joint mobilising still plays a big part of our availability within some of our very remote areas, most likely over in your side of the Sutherland, where station availability is relatively low or rather low. We will joint mobilise stations, so the 2 stations will be mobilised and meet up and attend an incident that way. But we do move personnel occasionally from station to station as an individual basis to provide that cover, to boost the numbers that are available through the Garton system. If we were doing that, yes, they would get paid mileage, and they would get then paid an hourly rate for covering Betty Hill for 8 hours or whatever that situation would be.
Perfect. No, that's excellent. Thanks for that response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Hugh.
Thank you.
One question I have is I'm just looking at your sheet there, and you got 0% availability in both Lochinvar and Scourie.
Yes.
In the event of a serious RTC in say at the Inchinazamp, for example,
yeah,
how would you respond to that, and how long would it take you to get there?
So I think we had this situation or this discussion, I think, in our last scrutiny meeting, and then very unfortunately after it we did have the exact situation. So our mobilising system in our Dundee control room will use dynamic mobilising, so it will be the nearest appliance will be mobilised immediately. So as for the example of Lochinvar not being available, the next nearest station will be mobilised, most likely Allopool. But they, through the Garden system, they know what appliances are available immediately on their resource map, and as soon as they put in that incident detail and the location of that incident, it will then let them know where the nearest appliance will be. As I said, we're using joint mobilising of stations, for example, Dornoch and Tongue or Kinlochbervie, etc. If 2 stations are showing with 2 persons available in each station, they will be both mobilised. They will meet up at a recognised point, and they will mobilise the incident and deal with it that way. But in a situation like that, it's the closest appliances that will be mobilised for that predetermined attendance. And if it's an RTC, it depends on the information that's available from that. If it's large goods vehicles, there's heavy rescue vehicles in Inverness that we even mobilise to Lochinvar, for example, because they carry very specific and specialised equipment. So that's how that type of incident would be dealt with. Same for us as officers. We are mobilised as the closest officer. So, for example, today there's every possibility I would be mobilised to Wicker Thurso if there's an incident up there that I would be required for. So that's appliance mobilisation and first call mobilisation as well, for instance.
Okay, thanks for that. I mean, Marianne?
Thank you for the report, and I'd just like to agree with everything that Hugh said about that area of the Northwest. Also, the incident you were talking about, would the 2 people who are on the crew in Lochinvar be called to meet with the appliances that would have come out to that?
Not normally. They would have to form that joint mobilising to make that full crew. We couldn't have two persons mobilising to an incident and turning up there on their own.
No, I mean along with whoever else.
But there would be that possibility that they could arrive first, and if they did arrive at an incident, they couldn't deal with a situation, and under the sort of policy and our operating procedures. As I said, they would be mobilised under the joint mobilising if it was 2 people.
So it couldn't be facilitated that they could arrive after the crew that was going to arrive. I mean, just giving 2
Yeah.
people who are much closer than anyone
Yeah.
else,
There-
and they're not going to be used in an. I mean, I know it's complicated, but
yes.
the other little
yeah,
point about
sorry.
the things that Hugh was saying is that one of the crew in Lochinver is actually female, but
Mhm.
isn't detailed on your information as female. So I'm just
Yes.
hoping that doesn't mean anything.
No, as I said, the availability information there, I've just taken a note this morning of who's in the process, as in overall numbers for that process. As I said, I don't know the exact breakdown of numbers. Again, the two people being mobilised from Lochinver, again, it would determine the skill set of, you could have 2 firefighters there, but no driver, etc., etc. So it would be very, very complicated to utilise 2 on their own from that. Normal or mobilisation of a fire appliance is always a minimum of 4, because it creates that driver, incident commander, and 2 competent BA wearers or BA wearers. And just if we go away from that, then it gets very complicated as to competencies and skills that individuals would have. But the numbers, as I said, the numbers coming through the process for Lochinver at the moment, there's 3 within that process. As I said, I'm not sure exact stages of that process, but there's 3 in that process.
Are there any for Scowrie?
And Scowrie is sitting at 4 at the moment.
Well, that's good.
In the process. And as I said, because it's not my area that I've managed the recruitment for, there are 4. So they may have just made that initial contact, or they may be through to PSTs in November, or they may have progressed beyond that. But that's where they are. There is a huge amount of work going on for that area, Lochinver, Scowrie, Dornoch area, because of the very small numbers. So that there's been a lot of work going on in the background, and a lot through the SSRP, the Service Strategic Review, that's ongoing. But there's nothing come out from that at the moment. I have no information to give on that, other than there's no significant change within Highland stations just now. But SSRP has been going on in the background, as you're aware of. But the numbers for Lochinver and Scowrie are looking rather promising for that, and the personnel in that area will be engaging with them and supporting them through that. So.
Good. Another thing I was wondering is when the other options are available, you said that would perhaps be in January. It'd be good if likes of ourselves and the community councils maybe could get a summarised version of what that actually means for someone who's considering it, in terms of hours.
Yes.
What they would be paid, just a straightforward version that we could be sharing wherever we go, because you're in schools, you're in community councils, development trusts. It's quite good to have just a concise version of that information.
Yeah. No, I think that's would be of great benefit for everybody round the table, because, as I said, we as in certainly my area, and I'll speak for the other areas, the station commanders, the on-call support watch commanders that do an absolutely fabulous job in our areas, supporting the stations, availability, and the recruitment side of it. But as I say, we rely on some sort of local knowledge, and local individuals in an area say, well, such and such might be a good candidate, and just that sort of target approach as well. And sorry, just for availability, I should have added in, as I said, we've spoken about joint mobilising, but as I said, our on-call support watch commanders that work a full-time week, as well as support as on-call within their own station, they do a massive job of improving and supporting availability within areas. They move from area to area, station to station on a daily basis, because if we have a station, for example Helmsdale, that are sitting on Garton this morning at three individuals, they are unavailable. So my on-call support will look at that first thing in the morning and will relocate to Helmsdale for the day and put that appliance on the run. So that happens Monday to Friday every single week. And as I said, that's not just my area, that's Caithness, the west coast of Sutherland, the on-call support are working in Invergordon. So they do a tremendous job improving that availability within stations as well. So it is very positive. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, just one hypothetical question from me.
Sorry.
Just one question. Looking at Lochimber and Scowry with 2 in Lochimber and 1 in Scowry as it stands at the moment, there wouldn't be any circumstances that these stations would be called at all. So these guys would never be used if it stays at that level.
Other than through the joint mobilising.
I mean, you couldn't joint mobilise one person. Even 2 and 1 is only make 3, so you haven't got 4.
but if you had another station close by, you know, as I said, these are extreme numbers, extremely low numbers.
Sure.
But Lochinver 2, for example, as I said, there is that possibility if you have 2 in another station that they would form that joint mobilising.
Okay.
But it's very complex when it goes into joint mobilising. It's just there would still be the nearest appliance we've mobilised in addition to that. And if joint mobilising is put in place, I would be notified, or the first call officer would be notified, and in most cases we would mobilise another appliance to support that as well. So they wouldn't be, in most cases, left on their own, because joint mobilising can obviously take a little bit longer than normal mobilisation of an appliance. So we would most likely back that up with the next nearest appliance to support.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Any other questions, members? No.
There is no cut-off age.
I'll put my name down. Please.
Yeah, obviously the PSTs, the pre-selection tests, the fitness side of it, that level is the same level across the board, and it's quite a high level, and it is quite a challenge, and perhaps a little bit of a barrier there for people to pass that. So.
Okay. Right. Well, thanks, David, for that.
Yeah.
That's much appreciated. I think, members, what it shows to me is that it's indicative of the depopulation issues that we're facing across the county. I mean, I'm sure David and his colleagues are doing their best to recruit, but if there are no people there, then that's obviously an issue that we're all well aware of.
Yeah.
So, David, thank you very much for your time today. It's greatly appreciated.
Sorry, can I just, before I finish off?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. I work out of Dornoch district. If there's anybody that would like to come and see me, have a chat about recruitment or any of the points that we've discussed today, my contact details are always available. And more than happy, the door's always open for anybody to come in and see me. Any events that you have that you would like me to come and have a talk to a group, please feel free, let me know, and I'm more than happy to come and support the areas that we're working in.
Okay, thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, back on where we are at. We have the report from David, and we are asked to comment and scrutinise the attached area performance report. Are we happy that we've done that?
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. Okay, thank you. David, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you're on call, so last thing you want to do is sit around here.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
but thanks for your attendance. So greatly appreciated.
No, not at all. Thank you. Nice meeting you all again. And as I said, I'm always available. Anything at all, don't never hesitate. Give me a shout.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, members. Going on to item 4 on the agenda. Find it. As the waste and recycling service changes, and we have Imogen online, who's going to talk us through that. Imogen?
Hi, good morning, members. I'll share my screen and start my presentation. Are you all seeing the first slide, which says waste services and my name?
Yeah, we've got that, Imogen. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Okay. My name's Imogen, Principal Waste Management Officer. I'm based here in County Buildings in Dingwall, and I was one of the lead officers for the service change rollout. To give you a bit of context, I know Alan McKinney the leader of Waste Services, gave an update last week to members, so apologies if this is a bit of a repeat, but I'll just give you a quick run through of the service change and background. So we received £6.55 million of funding from the Scottish Government to help improve our recycling services across the region. The main aim of the funding application and why we received the funding was to increase the quantity and quality of the recycling and to reduce the amount of waste we send for disposal. So far, we've rolled out approximately 100,000 bins. We started in April, and we have we've finished in Sutherland, and we're now moving into Caithness, but I'll come back to Sutherland specifically shortly. Just a bit of a recap on why we need to make the changes. This is a waste hierarchy diagram which shows the priority in which we should be looking at waste. So we should be looking at preventing waste in the first instance, reusing it and recycling it as the next line. That's called closed loop recycling and prevention, and I guess it ties in very strongly with the Scottish Government's circular economy the bill that they're working through at the moment. And it's all about making sure we reduce our impact on the environment, and waste contributes 80% of the carbon emissions for everything. It's not just what we have what we collect at the curbside. It's all our food. Every product we buy, it contributes 80% of the carbon emissions. So we need to make sure we're recovering value from that, and the last stage is disposal. Yeah, that's we need to reduce the amount of waste that we're sending for disposal overall. We carried out a waste analysis back in 2022, November 2022, to see what's in householders' bins across Highland. So this is an average. There's 39% of which is non-recyclable, so that's all fine. The next biggest chunk is the food waste. That's a significant amount that's in there. So the food waste includes, that'll be food that is still in its packaging, it'll be leftover food, it'll be meat and vegetable scraps. So some of it's avoidable and some of it is unavoidable. We also found quite a lot of recyclable materials that could have been put in the non-recyclable bin that could have gone to recycling centres, and also another 8% which could have gone into the recycling bins. So we based that we used that to inform our decisions on changing the services. So for Sutherland, this is your new service. The smaller 180 litre bin for non-recyclable waste is collected every 2 weeks. And then we have converted the blue bin into a paper and cardboard bin, which will be collected every 4 weeks. And then the green bin has been converted into a mixed containers bin. So that's for plastic bottles, pots, tubs, trays and cans, and food and drink cartons. Bear with me, next slide. So the rollout of the new waste and recycling service in Sutherland, we brought the service, the phasing forwards to September to avoid the dark evenings and the poor weather. We've got about 8,500 households that we delivered to. We've got depots in Lochinver, Melness and Brora. And we utilised existing operatives from the collection crews to help We also went out with printed maps, street lists and Google Maps to ensure we reduce the amount of missed deliveries. The additional bin policy has been amended so that it is now 5 or more permanent household residents living in a household that can apply for a second bin, and the waste management officer processes those. We carried out a communications campaign. Everybody received a letter ahead of the changes that was posted to them. We advertised in the Northern Times, issued social media messages, and updated our website content. So everybody got delivered a new booklet which had how to use the new service and how to reduce your waste. We also made new collection calendars which were specific to your collection route. And so I'll come on to the challenges we faced in Sutherland. It's we had planned for the rollout. We're now, this is phase 6, so we know we have experience, we know what to do. Unfortunately, we had difficulty securing additional staff to backfill the operatives that were helping us. When we did get agency staff, they were unwilling to work longer days. Because we would have to get them from Inverness, Invergordon, Easter Ross area, so that to get up to, for example, the Lochimver and Tongue depots, they'd need to leave at 6 in the morning in order to start their day. So and then they'd have to leave at 3 in order to get back for 5. So we didn't have the option of having longer delivery days in order to keep up with the schedule for deliveries. So we got behind. We did utilise staff, experienced staff from Easter Ross, and we brought staff down from Caithness to help us to complete the deliveries. Our business waste customers, we sent emails to them to explain when the changes and what the changes were going to be. The changes for business waste customers meant that we would deliver bins free of charge. That was part of the funding agreement with the Scottish Government, that these bins were given to our customers free of charge. Self-catering units, they were delivered a new grey non-recyclable bin that was the same size as they would have had previously, so a 240-litre bin. And we have a team helping the customers with the changes. The current situation is that all the household deliveries are finished. We are focusing on the scheduled deliveries are finished. We're now focusing on the missed deliveries. About 2.6% of households we did not deliver to, we've missed their collection. So the operations team in Sutherland are now focusing on that for us. Any householders or businesses that are waiting for bins or that have just recently got them should continue to use their bins as usual, and they will be collected in the normal manner. Our crews have been told that, and we have waste aware staff on the vehicles with the crews, helping them, making sure everybody knows what they're doing. And I appreciate that we have run late with the deliveries, but we have now caught up, and the new collections are going very well. The public, as it has been received elsewhere in Highland, are understanding what to do with the new service, and we're seeing very good quality with little contamination coming from the new service. As a reminder of what can go in the green recycling bin, it is I think we're getting a little bit of, sometimes people say, yeah, but you say plastics, and they might put in the outside of a computer, for example, but we need to be clear that it is plastic containers. So it's plastic bottles, pots, tubs, trays. It's tins and cans, aerosols, clean aluminium, and food and drinks cans. So we will continue to do some communication with the public across Highland in order to get that message out. And I think also it's not soft plastic, so it's not film and plastic bags, for example, because that's difficult for the processing. We have a new contract for the collection of our mixed containers. That's with Wiley's Recycling, and they're based in Perthshire. They're a small family-run business. They are one of the largest processors of this material. They are the largest one in Scotland. So we've recently been down to see them. It's a pretty impressive process they've got. It's an end-to-end process, and I have a video at the end. It's a 3-minute video, if I'm happy to show that to you if you would like. That's an example of what the material looks like when it comes off the bulkers. So what happens for Sutherland is that Sutherland's quite a complex haulage arrangements because of the geography of Sutherland. But once it goes into the refuse collection vehicles, it will go to a waste transfer station. So that'll either be in Lochinver, Melness, or Brora, and then it will get bulked up and transported to either Sita or to Invergordon. From Invergordon, it'll go into an Arctic trailer, and it will go down to Perthshire. And that's an example of it coming out, and that's an example of baled plastic bottles. The paper bin, so that now accepts paper, card, and cardboard, and we can't accept like dirty pizza boxes or blue roll, for example. And the reason we have separated this material is part of a national code of conduct, code of practice, that we separate the material to improve the quality. Although we did have good quality recyclate in Highland previously, there is a significant cost to collecting and processing this material that was in the blue bin for commingled recycling. So now when we've split the materials out, the quality of the paper increases. Therefore, there is a demand for that paper. And we've now got a new contract with Smurfit Westrock. And they are based in, they're a global company. They have many facilities across Scotland, but they have one in Glasgow, which is where our material goes, our paper and card. It'll get separated, graded into various paper grades, and then it will get baled and sent to their remanufacturing facilities. They've got two paper mills within the UK, and they then use that for consumer packaging. So again, we've got that end-to-end product, and having these outlets, these robust end markets, is really important for the council, and it significantly reduces our costs going forwards for the collection of this type of recycling. Something else I just touch on there is, as we had a look, that we saw that there was 35% of people's bins is made up of food. We will do some work once we get through the rollout. We will provide more information and advice to householders on how they can reduce their food waste, whether that's so it's about planning shopping, planning how to store your food, understanding how to store food, and also how if composting is available to them, that they can home compost at home. And as well as it reducing the amount of waste that is sent for disposal, it also is it can help households save money. So it's very important. So I don't know, would you like me to show you that small video, or if on how the containers recycling, or would you like?
We've got a lot of nodding heads here, Imogen, so yes, please, if you don't mind, that would be good.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just find it. Here we go. Are you still seeing that? Can you see?
Yeah.
Are you seeing a lorry now?
No, love food, hate waste.
Okay, right. Okay. Let me stop. I'm just gonna stop presenting for a minute, and then I'm gonna do it that way. I'll come back on and start sharing. You can see a lorry in front of you now.
Yeah, got that.
Okay, so this film has recently been made by Wiley's. They did it with Aberdeenshire, so that's just the context, that it's not our bins and it's not our area, but what we will do is we will get our own video made with Wiley's as well. But hopefully this gives you a really good sight of what's going on with recycling. Sorry. Okay, so has anybody got any questions at all?
Well, before we go up to questions, I think that's a really useful video. A lot of people ask about what happens to their waste, so that was very useful. If we can see a Highland one, that would be great as well.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really fun. I think I'd be happy to share that kind of information.
Yeah,
I would
good.
still like to know what the final product and what the process is for the actual recycling part of it.
So
But
so after it's baled and
yes,
once it's gone to the yeah, okay, I understand. I know what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah, when it
okay,
yeah.
thank you. Okay, thanks for that. That's really interesting. Members, any questions or any points you want to make? No, oh, Leanne, you want to?
How often can like the plastic bottles and stuff be recycled? Is there a limit, or can it be done again and again and again?
I'm not sure about that one. I don't think it is. I think, well, I'll get you a definitive answer. I know that it does reduce the quality. So yeah, there will be, every time it gets recycled, it does reduce into what it can be used for next. Whereas aluminium cans, that doesn't matter. That's one that keeps going. But I'll get you the definitive answer on plastics for sure.
Well, Hugh, round up.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. It was interesting as always from my point of view, from my previous experience. Just a few comments. I think there's been a bit of an issue in the North and West where a lot of the households didn't get their bins first time round. That's probably 5 or 6 weeks now, and there's still people shouting about getting bins and that. So hindsight's a great thing, but I think maybe for the rural areas, maybe the loader from the bin lorries would have been the person to go around delivering the bins, because they know exactly where they would have been going, and that would have been an easier task. Moving forward, though, on that as well, there seems to be a wee bit of cross sort of communication, because the households have been told to just mix their recycling, but the problem is that the bin lorries won't uplift them if it's contaminated. So there's going to be a few weeks of trying to get rid of emptying the bins that are contaminated before they can start again. So that's going to take probably another month to settle down. The leaflets, is there any way that we can actually get more leaflets to tell people exactly what they should be doing in that? Because I think people probably got the leaflets, and it's not until they start doing it that they realised, how do they go about doing this? So, if there's a way of getting leaflets, if they're online, let us know and we can get them printed off, and people can print them off themselves for their houses and things like that. So, also, a lot of the packaging nowadays is saying, not for recycling, please take to a large supermarket. So that's not happening at Pier either. So we must be getting an awful lot of that stuff going into household bins, because, if you're going to Inverness for the day, you're not going to be taking a bootload of recyclable stuff down. That's just the nature of the beast. Some people might, but I can't imagine how many will do that. So just a few things there, and also that presentation that you did, if you could maybe pass it on to us, because that's one way of going around the community councils and showing them exactly. I know it's not Highland, it's written on it, but it doesn't matter. They'll get the gist of it, exactly of what is happening to the waste and the recycling parts going forward. So thank you for that.
Okay, can I come back on a couple of those things? Okay, so with regard to the deliveries, Councillor Morrison suggested that we should have had a loader on with the deliveries. We did in fact have a driver or the loader from the existing crew on with the deliveries, so we did do that. We are aware that there are a small number of households that do not have their bins at the moment. We are telling our crews they must continue to collect those bins as normal, so there should be no issues with householders not getting their bins lifted. They should not be rejecting bins where they do not have the correct bins. So I will follow that up again with our operations teams Booklets for sure, we can definitely get them. I'm wondering if we did that, we could get some out to the service points, because I think it's quite useful to have the actual booklets, isn't it? And libraries and things. So we could do that for sure. And with the plastic film, yeah, I think it's that stuff that they say take to your supermarket, isn't it? I know the co-op takes it back as well. They do have a small facilities at their sites where you can take those back. So yeah, hopefully that's answered some of the questions.
Hugh, you want to come back in?
Yeah, just if you don't mind, Chair. Two things. We don't have co-ops and we don't have service points, so we need to have a think about how we can get leaflets. I mean, I'm quite happy to accept them if you want to send them up to me and I can dish them out to 4 community councils from Tang right round to Scourie, and I'm sure some of the other members are the same. So yeah, so and some of the bins that have not been delivered are just normal household bins that should have been. So I'm not sure where the breakdown there was with if it was in the Darness, Killinbarry, Scourie area where a lot of the bins have been struggled to get.
Okay.
The households have been struggling to get bins. So anyway, listen, we'll not argue over that. We'll just move forward and get it done. And I think that, yeah, we just need to, it's going to take time. Everybody understands that, but you know, it's just, it could have been maybe a wee bit better, but hey ho, we are where we are. Thanks for that.
Okay, we did. I am going to say, to defend my team, that they work huge hours to make sure this rollout stayed on. We got it back on track, and it's not for want of trying. It was the lack of resource that we just couldn't fill those places that we needed to have the depth in delivery teams. So I apologise for that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Imogen. I don't think need for apologies, to be honest. I think it's a major logistical challenge for you. But you made some good points. So that maybe a learning experience for your future reference. But listen, thank you very much for that really interesting presentation. It's greatly appreciated. Any other questions, anybody? No, not seeing that. So thank you very much for your time today. Yes, look forward to seeing the Sutherland version of the recycling video.
All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks
now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Members, there are no recommendations for that particular item, so I'll just move straight on to item 5, which is the adoption of the modified core path plan. And we have Matt with us to present the report.
Okay, good morning, members. So today I'm going to just go over the report that's been presented to committee, and it's regarding the adoption of the modified core path plan in Caithness and Sutherland as amended. So I'll summarise it firstly. This is a review when we reviewed the core paths in Caithness and Sutherland, and we consulted initially in December 2017 for 12 weeks, and that's a statutory consultation. And we also did a modified version of that plan, consulted in April 2019 for a 6-week period, and then we submitted it to Scottish ministers later on in that year. The ministers, because there was outstanding objections, Scottish ministers appointed a local reporter from the Department of Planning Inspectorate, and they did a local inquiry in 2020, right before lockdown, and they submitted their report to Scottish ministers on the 2nd of June. Obviously, you can see the time span between the 2nd of June 2020 to September 2024 is quite a long time, and that stems from a turnover of ministers. So every time we heard it got to the minister's desk, I think it was a new minister. And also, as we'll detail later in the report, there's issues regarding the management and operation of level crossings, which is not notionally a Caithness and Sutherland matter, it's a Highland matter. So we've been adapted to adopt the consultations that were unopposed in the 2017 consultation and also the 2019, and they're detailed in the 2 links. They're quite large documents, so they just link through. There's about 800 kilometres of new core path between Caithness and Sutherland. The majority of that's in Sutherland, and I've listed the adopted core paths in Appendix 2. So on top of that, we've been asked to not adopt a number of core paths, and they're listed also in Appendix 2. And so there's at least 3 core paths in Sutherland for that, which were objected to. The reporter looked at, and the ministers agreed not to adopt them, all for different reasons. So you've been asked today to adopt those three scenarios. And in summary, we've also had separate discussion with Network Rail, Transport Scotland, and senior civil servants that it's not necessarily the core paths that use level crossings, it's their inability for the Scottish Government to actually adopt level crossing part of the core path. So in discussion with that, the senior managers said we'll adopt the core path, excluding the level crossing at Dunrobin, so that the core path will still be, in essence, will still be able to use the core path, but it won't be designated over level crossing. I'll go over the procedure. So to just give some background, or I can go over the integrated impact assessment first of all. Sorry, that's going to page 2.
Sorry. Apologies.
Overall, the integrated impact assessment I completed in October is notionally positive. We're improving people's access to the countryside, we're improving active travel links, and we're improving people's physical and mental well-being. There's some small downsides in that some occasionally landowners and occupiers do feel that by putting a line on a map, we're impinging on their rights to exercise ownership of their property. And generally speaking, the reporter looked at those points and I made a decision about where access rights essentially are already exercisable. The public can already take recreation, take a dog walk, go cycling on that land. So there's no impinging on the rights of those people. So when we compare that to the benefits of promoting access, the overall positive is positive. So there's no negative implications on the integrated impact assessment. Just on the basic resource implications, although it looks a large plan and it's a lot of routes, we're only adopting the plan of routes. So we don't adopt the physical infrastructure on the ground like we would an adopt. So although we're using the word adoption, it's not like an adopted road. We're not taking on the maintenance and occupation of the road. But it does provide the council with some powers regarding signposting and discretionary powers to maintain, which we do exercise on a regular basis. We do have a legal duty to produce this plan, so that's a consequence of the 2003 Land Reform Act. The initial plan, just for some background, was adopted by full council in September 2011. So this is the first major review and amendment in Highland. So just for some context, West Highlands and Islands is underway, and that's their second consultation phase. And I already said we did do some consultations 2017, 2019, and then the Scottish ministers. I also appended the consultation, the reporters' findings to Scottish Government, and they're in the appendices, and also the letter that Highland Council received on the 9th of September to partially adopt or not adopt the core paths as recommended essentially by the reporter. The next steps, if you should adopt today, is to update the mapping, which is available on the Highland Council website. We have an online map viewer, and that's a very easy website to look at, just /core paths map, and people can do that in the best way. Large organisations like SSCN, large land agents like Bellingham can also download the data set, and I'll update that in the coming week. And also we do provide PDF maps on our website, which are probably a little bit out of date now. People don't always want to download a PDF map, but we still find people that don't want to use a map viewer or other GIS technology still. I think it's still a benefit to have maps that they can download. So the GIS information will be pretty much instantaneous this week, and then the maps I'll just change as and when. And lastly, the Highland Council, as I said, did have a power to signpost those paths, and I think for the cost of the signpost, a £40 pole and a £20 finger, it is still the best way, and it's the best, longest way to promote paths. And people that don't know about a route, it's great having an app, or it's great having a leaflet, or it's great having local knowledge. But if the visitor comes and goes past the signpost, especially from there elsewhere in the UK where they're used to seeing a finger post, I think is still the best best way forward to promote resources. And people then, even some locals would know. I don't want to go back over COVID, but when lockdown happened, the amount of people that took access in their local area instead of driving to their local forestry land Scotland site, the local beach, definitely an increase in the local use. And although it's not covered in this in section 6, I don't envisage we'll do a major review like this again, where we look at the entire county. But we will look at individual cases where new paths have been built, new housing estates maybe have been built, or there wish to be a change in land use of an area, and we'll look at them generally on a case-by-case basis. So it's not, although I said we won't do a major review again, we will look at paths as they come forward, because use does change, and I'm aware of paths that have stopped being used and paths that are well used, and maybe the role of the council is to provide a network of paths that is sufficient. That's the word it's used, to provide an access in an area. Doesn't tell us what is sufficient. So we have to. I mean, it's unfortunate that the reporter took out core path that's in Elphin. So with no core paths in Elphin, unless you go to the Nature Scott walk up at Knock-and-Crag. So we have got areas of the county that haven't got core paths, simply because there's not a lot of resource there. And we've got some areas, I will say, like Skerra and maybe Betty Hill, that did have a lot of access resource in the past. You know, a lot of people used to walk to school, walk to church, walk to the shop. But I would say they're quite low level of use. So we've kept them in the plan because they do provide a sufficiency network, but they may be at low levels of use. And then we compare it to places like the Bone Caves or Big Burn in Golspie, where, you know, they are very well used. So it is a selection of paths. We don't, unfortunately, it'd be nice to say every core path was 2 meters wide, was surfaced, and didn't have any, but at a minimum, we expect people maybe to have to go in walking boots. But we don't expect people, as I think I've said earlier in an earlier point in here, we don't expect people to have a map and compass. So there's an element that the routes are self-evident. I'll put that to you, Chair, just to any questions, or if you want to just go straight to adopt the 4 paths as recommended in the report.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Matt. That was really interesting, and reading through the various reports there, I found that quite fascinating. And thank you very much for the amount of work you've done. It's been fantastic. Members, do you have any questions or points you want to raise from Matt? Yeah.
The other thing, obviously, this is my time when 2017, 2019, but given that paths are very topical in Armdale and Strathie at the moment, I'm a bit concerned at seeing one being deleted.
Sorry,
Recent one.
can you put your microphone on?
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. It's the one that is SU 04.08 in Appendix 2.
Yeah. So the core path that was removed, the bridge fell down in, I think, about 2007. Actually, probably before the core path was actually adopted, so it lost its abutment on the side, and since so it was done through Caithness Jet or Sutherland Jet at the time, Job Enterprise and Training Scheme. So it wasn't a Highland Council bridge. So, and the bridge was not replaced. So it was quite a big burn. You wouldn't have had to jump across it. And then secondly, the crofter there, the farming owner upgraded their bridge and improved the path to the bridge on the east of the burn. So while there was another access to the beach, so there's 2 access to the beach at Armadale, one from the village and one from Armadale Farm. The link between the 2 paths, because the loss of the bridge, I didn't want to keep a route in there that had no real accessibility. I struggled to cross. I can show you. I will, if you want me to send you a picture of the bridge. I don't know. I have had some communication with probably a constituent asking why. And secondly, it's a less of an issue. Is the new path that been upgraded is now separated from the stock. So previously both paths went through cattle, and so it was, I mean, it wasn't a consideration for removing the path, that people now can get to the beach from the picnic site at the Armadale Bridge, which is it is a promoted, I think it does need some improvement. We do find that the car park is now promoted and well used, and that's the closest way of going up to the village. So, but if you want me to send you a picture, I can. And
the community council,
yeah. And there was a very active, we're going back even further, there was a very active trust in Armadale that looked after one of the cross, and they maintained the west approach. And I think the trust is, I think it's in abeyance. So the Armadale Aldbeg Trust, I don't know if they've been in existence or in operation for a while. So they maintained the western approach. So yes, it's a case that we've now got. It's probably a job now, as people are aware, we've got the access rangers that were operating over the summer. We're able to retain 2 on 2.5 days a week. So I'll certainly, the Armadale path that needs work and some improvements. We'll certainly look at improving that, but I don't think we'll be able to do a new bridge. Yeah, and the Elfin path that was removed from the plan is up to the caves, and although there was concerns from the landowner lower down about interacting with sheep, which I understood, I don't think the reporter really understood that. Yes, we were aware that it was a PT path to the caves, but the designation of a core path would have allowed us to do some minor works on the path. So we would have improved the path. But they said, I think it's quite unusual. It's one of the sinkholes where the water goes down. So maybe we can work with Elfin and look at other paths in the future that aren't Knock and Crag. And that's part of Assynt Community Council. Yeah. So we're quite away from Assynt. So we've had this issue in places like Betty Hill when you're looking at Altmahara, or we've had places like when you're in Coleraine and you're dealing with, parts of Bonner Bridge or an Ard Guy when you've got maybe no members in Coleraine. So I don't know if we had a lot of feedback from Elfin. It was Margaret and Ray Strang that were keen there, and they're obviously quite elderly now as well.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other questions from that, Michael?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. To go back to the Garfield can do. I think there was a time for some reason there were gates that were locked in place. Have you managed to get those sorted, or some kind of kissing gate that can be allowing people?
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, I have been in contact with SSEN who put the gates in, and I understand because there's 2 owners, the track's being built up from both owners, and because neither owner wanted other owner to get access from their opposite land in the gap.
Yes.
So it's a place I do need to visit.
Yes.
I'm told the gates have been unlocked.
They have been.
But I'm not sure. I need the case to follow up. Yeah. Did it include I can do it to Sleastery Path, because there was not a very good access at I can do it until the power line was.
Yes.
And then a new access was built at I can do it. Unfortunately, when the road was realigned from Bonner Bridge to Leg, just north of I can do it, they cut straight through where the path came out.
That's right. Yeah.
So you'd have to stop on a really bad corner, go up an embankment. And they did so. I think I can do it. I signposted Sleastery side.
Yes.
With Ardguy Community Council. Sorry, Bonner Bridge Community Council. And also a member of the Local Access Forum. And I need to speak to Mr. Gospel, who's the owner of I Can Do It, and we're putting a signpost in at the new access.
Well, that would be good.
He's certainly getting a lot of use with mountain
people,
bikers.
Mountain bikers,
And it's traditionally Loch Lara was very boggy.
Yes.
And now, I mean, I'm not saying it's a reason to have power lines, but it's a benefit that once they access there. And it's the same, but the same is true of going north from there. There's new access tracks stopped.
Yes.
So once they got to their mast 17 or mast 170, they're not interested in going all the way to Leg.
No.
But and then there's a track coming in from Leg that goes to mast from the last track. It does. We can't force people to build tracks all the way through, but it's something to consider for future plan applications where maybe an extra section. But typically that occurs where there's a change in ownership. So the reason why the tracks don't go all the way through is there's a change in ownership, and the owners are a little bit proprietorial of where they want to have a track on their own land. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Matt. Members, any other questions for Matt? Nope, not seeing any hands. So, members, we are asked to adopt the candidate core paths as consulted upon and not rejected to under the amended plan December 2017 to March 2018. Adopt the candidate core paths as consulted upon under the modified amended plan April 19 to May 19. Adopt the candidate core path under the plan as directed by Scottish Ministers by letter on the 2nd of September 2024, and adopt the Sportsman's Walk A9 candidate core path with the exception of the level crossing at Dunrobin Station. Are we happy to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Well, thanks, Matt, for your time. Much appreciated. Members, moving on, we are going on to item 6. It's the allocation of income. One second. Allocation of invitation to pay income 22-23 and 23-24, and I believe that I was going to talk through that at the moment.
Okay, thank you, members. Thank you, Chair.
There you go.
The report details the income from the 5 Sutherland car parks where invitation to pay is in force. As per the council policy, 50% of net income after costs is passed to the relevant area committee. The income for the 2 years, 22-23 and 23-24, totals 18,447. That's 50% of net income after costs. The split between the wards isn't shown in the paper, but it goes as follows. For Ward 4, 6,428 for the 2 years. And for Ward 1 for the 2 years, 12,019, giving a total of 18,447. The report outlines 3 options for managing the funding. A fund for each of the community council areas where the invitation to pay car parks are located. 1 fund for each of the Sutherland wards, so 2 funds. And a single Sutherland fund. And the recommendation is that members agree a fund for each Sutherland ward because that's appropriate given the amounts that are available, and it would also tie in with existing processes around the ward discretionary budget. Additionally, members have indicated a wish to prioritise support for sports projects via the Sutherland Sports Council, and this could be managed by applications from the Sutherland Sports Council to the 2 ward funds. The process proposed is that applications for funding of under £10,000 will be delegated for officer approval via the Community Development Manager, and applications for over £10,000 will be subject to committee approval. So that's the same as the ward discretionary budget processes. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks for that, Phil. Okay, members, we have some options there. Anyone want to start off and ask any questions or express any preferences? Jim.
Yeah, I declare
I'll hit my button here.
my interest, but I get my different audios off. I declare my interest in that as chair of the Sutherland Sports Council, but I'm quite content with the prospect of applying to for some core funding to either or both ward pots, if that is a reasonable way forward.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, get my microphone back on again here. From my perspective, I think putting part of the fund into the sports council from each ward, and I would suggest we put £1,000 from each ward into sports council, because sports council actually benefits all the county, and it's not a lot of money, but it actually will generate a lot of benefit to across the county. So that would be my preference, and the rest to be split between each of the wards as described by Phil. So that would be my preference for the option. I'm happy to Anybody get any alternatives they would like to propose? Oops.
Split, being split according to what each ward.
Well,
Or if it worked down the middle total.
I think the way Phil described it, the split according to the wards. I'm getting confused myself here.
Yep, so that would be option 2. And the amounts are
Right.
6,428 for Ward 1, 4, and 12,019 for Ward 1. And if the Sports Council was to apply, as members are proposing, for £1,000 from each of those, then you'd have that amount less £1,000 in each ward.
Hugh, your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. There was something said there, but I didn't hear it. So I was just going to say that happy to go with what Phil said, but I would maybe up the ante from what you said and maybe put 2,000 from each ward into the Sports Council, because 1,000 from each is fine, but you know, there's more meat on the bones with 2,000 from each, and it's money that we didn't have anyway. So we're not, you know, if we didn't have it, we're not going to lose it, sort of thing. Like, so that's just my suggestion, but I'm happy to go with a recommendation as well. So.
Well, I could see your rationale with there. My thinking was we £1,000 from each ward, and then leave it open to the Sports Councils if they want to come and apply for any more. So we're not closing it off at £1,000, but actually giving them a guaranteed £2,000 in the kitty, and then open it up for them to come to us with any other applications that they feel fit. So it's just a starter for 10, as it were. I know that Jim has expressed an interest, but I think I'd value his thoughts on that.
I think that as a starting bid, I'm quite content with the top slice of £1,000 from each ward, and then come back, the opportunity to come back as need be. Yeah.
Members, other members, any thoughts? No. Okay. Sorry, can you put your...
What happens when one of these car parks becomes mandatory pay as opposed to invitation to pay?
That's a good question. Phil?
So you're talking about Melvick?
Yeah.
Where the compulsory charge is being introduced because there's a loan repayment to be made. My understanding is that the money will still come to the committee, but I would need to check that with what happens to follow the model that happened in Skye. But I'm fairly sure that the cost of the loan is kind of netted off, and then there's still money that comes back. But I will check that and confirm.
Thanks for that. Hello. Here we are. Yes. It's all very confusing. I think we definitely have to make an effort to get the comms right in this chamber. Yeah. So, okay. So remember, I mean, we have a proposal that I put forward for £1,000 to go from each ward initially. And Hugh, do you want to make an amendment to that, Hugh? And dare we have a vote?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with what you suggest. If we have any money left over, maybe we can buy some comms for the building.
That would be very useful. Thanks for that. Okay, members. So what we've decided is that a split between the two wards, well, as for the figures that Phil has put out there, and with a top slice of £1,000 from each ward going to the Sports Council, but leaving it open for the Sports Council to come back to us at any time for any increase on that for any particular projects. Are we happy to accept that? Okay, that's fine. Moving on. We are on to item. Get my machine to work here. Item 7, Dornoch Common Good Q2 monitoring. Phil, do you want to introduce that first, please?
Thank you, Chair. The report presents the Q2 24-25 monitoring statement for Dornoch Common Good Fund. Income is as expected, although the invitation to pay is possibly a little light. As a quick reminder, as an aside, following the last item, invitation to pay the Common Good is treated separately from the other invitations to pay. Expenditure. There's been a lot of expenditure in the first 6 months. That's the majority of the £25,000 grant that's been spent. There were 2 large projects, one for the cathedral, which was to do with creating visitor access to the tower. And some works required for that was £5 and something thousand. It's in the appendix. And the creation of the new website for the Business Improvement District. But given that expenditure, it may well be worth considering increasing that amount in future years, but the budget will come to committee in January or February next year. There is one grant, All Sorts, which has not been claimed. That created an underspend of over £8,000 last year. And if it is claimed, it will lead to an overspend this year of £8,000, but essentially the money was allocated, so it should be affordable. The group was contacted in October 2023 asking for invoices so we could pay the grant, and we've not heard anything back. There was money in the budget for resurfacing the car park at Dornoch Beach. That hasn't haven't done anything with that this year. I've been really busy focusing on the burn. But the car park, I'd like to keep that. We can talk about that potentially for next year's budget if we don't get around to that work this year. Finally, the burn project has occupied a lot of time over the last couple of years, not least of Councillor McGilvery, but also other people in the community and myself. The digging of an unauthorised channel in March really changed the situation, and although there was an expectation and advice that the burn would become quickly blocked with sand, that hasn't happened. In fact, the burn has stabilised, the channel has stabilised, and it appears to have resolved the situation. We had good community engagement and engagement from partners, having created a partnership which applied for funding. But the conclusion of the partnership was that they preferred the solution around the dredged burn, which really then meant that the funding, which was linked to nature restoration, the projects didn't work if that was going to be the solution. And so it was agreed to withdraw that application for the funding. There may be an opportunity to do some nature restoration work on Blackburn, which is a fairly sterile, straight water course at the moment, and the golf club are willing to look at that. So that may be a project that we'll bring forward in the future. The monitoring will continue on the burn, and the Common Good as landowner will be, I think, expected to lead on any licensing application which will be required for dredging in the future. But certainly the partners around the table have indicated that they may be willing to assist with monitoring or with working, with delivering the work. And I think that if nothing else, we've come to a shared understanding and agreement, and I don't know whether Councillor McGilvery would agree, but a shared understanding and agreement on the importance of working together on the burn. That's all I've got for the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for the report. Do you have any questions? Oh, happened first. Hello. That's good. Do you have any questions for Phil?
Just a thanks, Phil, for the tremendous effort he put in on the burn issue. And if nothing else, it thrashed the issue out well and truly and came to an ultimate conclusion, which was agreed by all. And we're in a situation where going down the line, if something happens again, I think the agreement is we have to go to the Marine Directorate for permission to do any remedial works again. But that is just down the line, and we can see what happens then. As regards All Sorts, they are self-sustaining at the moment, but I do feel that they will come in and perhaps pull down that funding. But at the moment, there's no hint of that in being in place. So it's a very satisfactory set of results. No real major projects there, but there's always something out there waiting to come in. So I'm aware of some initial conversations that have been had for a big pool on the fund, but that'll be the next year, I would think. Next calendar year, rather, next financial year, perhaps. So that's a good report. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Jim. Okay, members. Any other questions for Phil? No. I've got one question. I'm just looking for a little bit of clarification, Phil. It's to do with the difference of the income, in relation to pay income. And you said it's specifically different because of the common good. Can you just clarify exactly what that is? The reason I asked that came up is at the community council meeting last night.
So the invitation to pay income from the common good car park goes into the common good fund. It doesn't create a separate fund from, as we just discussed in the previous paper, invitation to pay income from council car parks creates a fund 50% net of cost, which goes to area committees to decide what to do. In the case of common good, and forgive me, I'm not sure whether it's the full amount or whether it's the 50% net of costs, but the income that comes as a result of that goes straight into the common good fund as income, as if it were rent paid on the property, rather than it being treated separately.
Okay. Right, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good point, well made, and it's just alerting me to this again. And perhaps it's also I can seek to supplement Sports Council money from going to that particular pot as well. So it would allow me to perhaps to service applications coming specifically from the Dornoch schools area by being able to go to that pot. But it would be a revenue call, and a small revenue call, similar to what's happening with the beach toilets and so on. So.
Yeah, the way to treat that would be as an application into the money that's allocated for grants and contributions. Just as an application by, just in the same way that.
Application.
Yeah, in the same way that the cricket club and other sports, bowling club, many sports clubs in Dornoch have been supported through the Common Good Fund over the years. So we would just do it that way.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that. It's good to see that various avenues for funding for the Sports Council. So thank you very much for that. Okay, members, if there's no more questions for Phil, the recommendations are to scrutinise and note the Q2 monitoring statement for the Dornoch Common Good Fund. Are we happy we've done that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, that brings us on to the final item on the agenda, which is the minutes from the previous meeting. I'm happy to propose them. Are there any issues that anybody want to raise from them? No? Okay, accepted. Thank you very much, members. That brings us to the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, Anne. If you want to stop the recording, that'd be fine.